Yeah, I think everybody else will be smooth, so that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Okay, and what I was about to ask is just, I'm wondering is everyone clear on what the service is, how it works, the back-end access you have? I'm just wondering if it would be helpful if we just kind of quickly went through some of those parts again for everyone. Would that be beneficial to do that as a starting point, or?
Yes,
Sure.
I think so. I think we could use a refresher, and we also have a new employee who doesn't know too much about HR service yet, so I think
And I'm just thinking too, we don't have Dion here today.
Yeah.
And she's taken over all of Carol's cases.
And I'm recording this too, so I'll provide you with a link for anyone who missed our discussion.
Oh, good.
So,
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ken.
Okay, and just to let y'all know, I'm going to have to hop off in a little bit, so anything that's discussed, I can listen to it, or I can get filled in by Sarah or somebody.
You know what?
Okay, why don't you go up, Ken? Why don't you start off with SPD 101?
All right, let's do that. In fact, I'm going to go. Let's go right into the SPD, and I'll come back to some other slides here in a moment. But I wanted to show you first. If you go to our site at hrserviceinc.com and I log in, then you have your special login. So if I go in, your login name is Carlisle, and I'm sorry, I didn't look up. I had it saved in my system. I forgot to look up to tell you what the password is. But if I log in as you, so I'm showing you first your back-end access. So now you can go under Partner Setup Clients List, and inside of here, now you can see all of your clients right here at your fingertips. So if I'm in here working on, let's say I want to go to Corrigan Distributing, and I want to work on their SPD wrap document, or maybe Corrigan Distributing has already filled out their wrap document, and they say, hey, can you just go in and check this out for me? Then you could click this Edit SPD questionnaire. You can come in here, look at any questions, review the information that Corrigan Distributing has inserted in here, and then make any changes you want. You can save your changes. If you feel like you're at a point where you're ready to generate your document, you can click this button to generate the document. And it's sent to whoever you indicate here, either the client or the broker or both of you. And then up above, then is where you have the client or broker information. So right here, this is the client. They're the contact person or plan administrator. And then this is where the broker information's at. Was there a comment?
No.
Okay. So the system will automatically save every 5 minutes or so, but you always need to make sure that anytime you're making edits or changes to come over and click Save and Exit, or like I said, when you're ready to generate the document, you click the button to generate the document. If I hit backspace, it takes me right back where I was at before in the system, and then I could also go in and work on whether it's the all-in-one employee notice document. So if I click this button, you'll see in here I can answer some simple questions about my company, questions about the medical insurance, and then when I click the button here to generate employee notices, what it does is it creates this, let me go down here, right here. Everything in this bracket, it pulls in which notice applies, populates it, and then emails it to either the client or to you, the broker, in a ready-to-deliver format out to participants. Separately in there, you'll see there was the health exchange notice button. So if I go back in there, here's where the health exchange notice is. Now, that was due back in October of 2013, but I'm still required to provide that for all new hires. So in here's where they can take care of their annual notices, and they can take care of their health exchange notice. I didn't mean to digress too much from the core question of wrap documents 101, because I really didn't go into a lot of detail for you there, but I wanted to show you here for a minute how you could go in and work with and help any of your clients. The same is true with a summary material modification. So if I wanted, maybe one of my clients had a change. Now they have access to this too, and I'll show you all of their buttons and what they have access to. But I'm just showing you, here's an easy way for you, if you want to go in and assist with anything or just review things, you have that capability. And Bob, back to your point and question in the beginning, I'd like to just turn on a switch and have it all take care of itself. To the extent possible, I wish that every client were like that. That we could just say, here's a tool, we set this up with HR service, and here's how you use it. I mean, we give them instructions. We're here, we'll answer any questions, we can help them. We don't know the content. And some of your clients will take it and go with it, but others need hand-holding, and then a lot of them, after they've done it, they still want your verification. We can answer any questions about how they fill out or how they use tools. What we can't do or we don't know their content. We don't know their benefit plans, or if they have creditable coverage or not, if it's a grandfather plan or not, or some of those kinds of things. But inside of here is where once you have that, you log in with your back-end access login and password, you can see all of your clients, you can see their usernames and passwords, and you'll also notice there's a pattern in here. So if you look at the username and password, like for Corrigan Distributing, for example, it's always it's the email of the main contact person. In this case, D Long at we've got their full email right here. And then the password is the first 3 letters of their company name, in this case CAN, and the last 4 of their phone number, 7906. So that's an easy way for you to look at it and be able to always remember, your client's usernames and passwords. So if you're just talking with someone and they need some help. The same is true for a POP document. So if I wanted to go in, let's say that I'm working with Corrigan Distributing and I wanted to help generate their POP document or look at that. You'll notice there's a note down here that says enter the username and password when going into the site. So when I click this button, it's going to redirect me into where the POP documents are generated out of a site called taxfreepremiums.com. It's still our site, but it takes them into a different area. But I have to look up here and use this username and password in order to log into that. So once I go into if I click this button and I wanted to go into that, now I'm going to log in as someone else. Let's see. Anita, do you remember this password?
Eric, no, but I can get it real quick.
I'm sorry. I thought I had one I was going to log in with here, and I.
Should be just a moment. I apologize.
I apologize. I thought I had one. I didn't write down the password myself. Let me go back to here for a moment. What I was going to do, if I had gone in as this one, so I could go in as, in fact, let's just do one of your clients, CAN 7906. So I can copy this username. I go into the POP service, put in that username, and then I enter in their code, or the password, which is CAN 7906. Now, once I log into the system here, to complete everything they need to generate a POP document, all I have to do is go into the company information, and I fill out the information down here. So there's already complete. Once I'm done, I click Save, and then I go into the plan information, fill out this basic information inside of here, save and exit, and then when I do that, now it brings up here where I can download the plan documents that I just save in a file, or I download a summary plan description just for the POP document that I can include with the SPD wrap document when it arrives. So anyway, I just wanted to show you how that all worked here. Let's see if this is going to take me back. Okay. So I wanted this shows you your tool in here. Now if I go out of this just to show you what the clients look like. So if I sign in as I'm going to go into a test account for just a moment, and then we can go into more detail on the wrap document if you like. So the clients, when they log in, they have a number of tools in here. They can go under employee notices, employee notice report, and they could run their own annual notices here. This is that field we just went through that, where you have access to as well. So they could generate their own annual notice. They can generate their health exchange notice from within inside of here. They have access to all of our past legal updates, either by the actual notice or they can search for legal topics inside of here. They have all new hire forms and documents. Most of them already have this kind of information, but it's nice having it in one place stop where they can get the latest I-9, W-4, job application, direct deposit form. Then they also can access all of our past best practice bulletins. So we do one best practice bulletin each month where we put your logo on and it goes out for them. Like we did one on the employer reporting requirements in January. So they could click this if they missed that article for some reason or wanted information on that. We also, once a year, we provide them with a full calendar. So they get a full compliance calendar, and it gives them the date, what's changed, and what are their actions, that's out to the side there. And then they, too, can access their own SPD wrap. And so inside of here, it's the same questions that you see that they see. So your approach could be that either us or you, one of us gets hold of each of them who hasn't done it yet and guide them to get started in here. We could have them come in and fill out as much as they're comfortable with, and then perhaps what your approach would be, then you say, you fill as much as you're comfortable with, and then we'll come in and check it out or fill out anything else. That way, if they've already done a lot of the legwork, it wouldn't be quite as time-intensive, for you. Would it help, Bob? I don't know if you want me to go through each of the sections or questions inside of here. Do you want me to be that detailed, or do you want to keep it higher level right now? Or
I'm going to leave that up to the group.
Well, if we're going to have to help them with it, we're going to need to know what it is.
Well, if I'm understanding it correctly, this looks pretty simple. Scroll up to the top, Ken, and just kind of scroll down slowly so everybody can kind of see what this page encompasses.
Yep. Let me just, I know some of the sections that are, that are typically there's questions on. So the first part of this, you'll see most of this is pretty straightforward. There's not much rocket science up above here. They indicate which benefit plans they have. They come down here under eligibility. Now, in most cases, eligibility is going to be pretty simple. It's 30 hours or more full-time, first of the month following 60 days. Now, it may vary, so everybody may have their own, so you can deal with those variances. Every once in a while, you may run into someone that says, like if you read this question, are average work hours required for benefits eligibility the same for all health and welfare? Sometimes that may be no. They could go in and say, well, it's 30 hours for medical, but it's 40 hours or 35 hours for everything else. So you have that capability inside of here. So you capture whichever fits the definition for each group. There is a question here that says, is the benefits eligibility start date the same for all health and welfare benefits? If that's yes, then I'm done. If it's no, then I could come in here and say, well, dental insurance benefits begin after 180 days. Are there other benefits with different dates? I could say yes, the wellness plan starts as of the date of hire. So you can see I can deal with any kind of variances they have. So most of it's straightforward. Even the question here, does eligibility differ for any employee group such as executives or exempt? So in this case, I said yes. Management who works full-time, 30 hours a week, theirs begins as of the date of hire. And are there other groups? I could say yes. Now maybe there's a group with a union who has differences, or senior management or something. If I want to take something off, I just click that remove, and then it goes away. So that's eligibility, and that's a common area where there's questions and where there may be a little bit of complication. Our tool also captures the measurement period. And I think most of you are familiar with what that is. Just with the Affordable Care Act, there's what's called the measurement period, where each employer has to define what's that time period where I look at and say who's averaging at least 30 hours or more, so I know if they're eligible for benefits or not. And and that's called their measurement period. So you can go in here, it may be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and whatever their measurement period is, then that's the same stability period where that's the time frame that they can't take them off of benefits, even if their average work hours are lower than 30. And then there's the stability period. I'm sorry, that was the stability period. The administrative period, there's a definition here if somebody wants to click that. Basically, that's the time period from once your measurement period ends, that's how much time you have before, you can do your calculations and help get somebody signed up. Now, there's also an option here for purposes of medical insurance. Does your company include a 1-month orientation period that applies? So if I say yes or no, whatever you indicate here, this information then is merged into the core document. Most of this is pretty straightforward. You cover their employee share of contributions are paid, what's the frequency. For every benefit that they've checked up above that they say that they have, we have to indicate when does it terminate. Is it the last date of the month in which benefits, which they're eligible, or is it the last day of employment? And then we cover their open enrollment. Now the open enrollment that we're talking about here is initially the medical insurance. So if you look at and same thing here, it says, does your plan year follow a calendar or fiscal year? We're referring to the medical insurance plan year. In fact, Anita, we ought to make note and probably define that right there. If it's calendar, we all know what calendar year means. January 1 to December 31st. If I say fiscal year, then I have to indicate the month and day for covering the full year. In this case here, I've got an example of October 1 through September 30th. There is an option here also for so usually the open enrollment month is 1 month before the calendar year plan, when their plan renews. I mean, in some instances, maybe their renewal month is 2 months before that, but most of the cases it's a month before. There is an option here where it says, is the enrollment month the same for all health and welfare benefit plans? If it's no, I could go in here and say, well, the dental plan, we do an open enrollment in December. Or are there other benefits with different enrollment months? So if you put that in there, then it's merged in the document and tells participants when their different enrollment months are for each of the different benefits. I could do the same with plans. So if it has the question here, do plan years differ for any health and welfare benefits? So if it's no, then I'm done. If it's yes, I could come in here and say, well, the dental plan goes from January 1 through December 31st. Are there other benefits with different plan years? So you always have that capability where you can add in more if you have other odd situations. Now there's a question here that says, and stop me if you have any questions as I go. I'm trying to go as quickly as possible for sake of your time today. There's a question here that says plan document effective date. So this is the effective date of the overall plan document. Now, generally, over here it says the effective date must be within the same plan year as your plan. So if I'm filling this out right now for the first time, and maybe I started my benefits 3 years ago, I can't come in here and put a plan date that says 2012 or 2000. I can't go back that far. It has to be within the same plan year. But I could, even though it's June, I could go in and put just, if it is a calendar year, I could put in here January 1, 2015. Or I could go back as far as still within the plan year. Does that make sense? And I cover what happens with eligibility. Any questions so far?
Yeah, Ken, when you said the plan year, for instance, if the plan year was from July to June, you still have that opportunity to go back into 2014, I guess, and put the time period there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so as long as it's still within their plan year time frame. So I could still go back into 14. Right now I couldn't be further than like if it was you said July, so July, if it was in July, I could still go back to July of 2014. because that would be within the plan year.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is for each of the coverages, right?
Well, what we're referring to in here is, generally you're referring to your overall medical insurance, but we are defining one overall plan year. The plan document will have a plan document that will be the plan document for all of your benefits.
Which is
in most
generally
instances,
around medical, right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So going on down here, there's a section here for contributions. Our system allows the option to either include rates or exclude them inside the system. So if I came in here and I wanted to say, here's my medical, here's my dental, life, LTD, and health reimbursement account. So I can show rate information in here. So the medical, the dental, and the vision all show it as breaking it out for all of the different scenarios as a percent or a dollar amount. Alternatively, if I didn't want to include rate information, I could say, right here it says, I prefer to skip showing rate contributions for all benefit plans shown and agree to include employer the rate information when the document arrives. So if I say yes here now, notice down below now all the rate information disappears and I don't enter it into the document. In a lot of instances, that might be the easier approach. If you've already created something that you're using to communicate rates out to participants, you might do that. Some people prefer to show the rate inside of it, and then they can do that. It gives them that capability. There's a couple of questions. Go ahead.
I was going to say, does it show the actual monthly bill rate and then the contribution rate? Are they two separate fields for that?
It is just showing the employer contributions, as a percent or dollar amount, and then when it's merged in the document, then it'll say, and then the employee pays the other amount.
But putting rates in there or employer contribution is optional. It doesn't make your SPD any less.
That's right. It's ERISA wants employee and participants to receive information about rates. You can do it here, or you can click this box and attach it, or maybe you've already given it out some other time during the year. It's good to keep one with your current SPD that you're giving to all new hires, so everything doesn't have to go out exactly all together to all participants as long as they've received the information. But most employers will create they'll do it that way for putting out when they first send out their SPD. So I could say, yes, I'm going to skip the rates, and then the rates disappear down here. Leaving that in for just a moment, just to show you a couple of these other fields, there is an option here that says, do employees contribute a set amount towards all benefits? So sometimes that's the case. If I say yes here, then I could come in here and say, indicate the employee's dollar amount or percentage, that they contribute towards the benefits. Is there a different group or class? If there's no, then I'm done. If yes, this is within, where they're paying towards their own benefits. So there's that capability there. Also, you may have some situation where the rates are age band rated, and then it's really difficult to try to go in and put, amounts or whatever. So you could, if you check that box for age band rated, then it'll state that in the document that say, rates are age band rated, and then you could just attach a list of the age band rated rates.
Oh my God.
Do you do much over the shop? Do you do any purchasing, any insurance plans over the Small Business Health Options Program?
No, I only have one.
Okay. So if you have that case, if you were to check that box right now, the medical insurance information would all disappear, and you wouldn't even put in any detail on the medical plan. But it would state in the document that the insurance is purchased over the Small Business Health Options Program, and then to see attached or to see the plan for additional information on the plan. The problem with SHOP is a lot of them have 30 and 40 plans, and you wouldn't want to try entering in that kind of detail or that information inside of here. So that would be a challenge. So just to go through a couple of these fields inside of here, just so you're clear on filling these out, it does ask the question, do you offer a health savings account associated with a high deductible? So if that's yes, then you can come in here and indicate, does the employer contribute towards the HSA, yes or no? If that's yes, then they indicate, the frequency and the amounts. There's a question here. It says, is the employer's contributions based on a specific insurance plan? So it's cute to know, but if it's yes, then you can go in here and you indicate the plan name, and then it'll reference that inside the document. Is there another medical insurance plan offered? So there's always the case under each of these where you can have multiple plans. So if it's the same plan as, like, let's say that they're, in this example here, I'm calling the plan Select Health HMO. I may also have a Select Health PPO or a Select Health Indemnity Plan or something like that. So I could list each of them separately inside of here, covering the differences. Again, if I want to remove something, I just click Remove. The same is true for the other programs here, so you can see how it always asks, is there an additional plan? So is there an additional dental plan? I say yes, and then I can enter in the additional dental plan information. Once I'm complete and I filled out all the information inside of here, if you have questions throughout, or if the client has questions, whoever's filling this, then they can call us and speak with Anita or one of our compliance coaches that can help through this whole process. You could alternatively make notes here if you wanted to say, hey, where do I do this or how do I do that? If you make notes in this box, it does delay the document being sent by 2 to 3 days, because then Anita or Robin or someone has to go in and review the information and then get back to them. It's almost better. Anita, you tell me if you agree. I think it's almost better just to pick up the phone and call and say, hey, how do I deal with this?
It is quicker to call, and sometimes even an email is quicker depending on the day.
Yeah, and we may eventually, end up pulling this out at some point, just because we really prefer that, and I think people, I think it gets them a quicker result as well. So once I've filled out the information, then I come down here, I decide who do I want the document to go to, client, broker, or both. Anytime I've made changes, I have to make sure I save and exit, and then once I'm ready to, I can click to generate the document. Now, if I click Generate the Document now, that'll be sent to me, and you'll see up here, I have to wait for it to let it process. Okay, so now right there you see my screen changed, and that means it just processed that, and now it's emailed over to me. So now if I go to my email, and I hit refresh, then there's the SPD wrap document was just sent to me in a ready-to-deliver format. It's in a Word format. It gives instructions on what to do with it. Now, you notice when we went through the questionnaire, it didn't ask for deductible and coinsurance and limitations and details about the plans. So in order to complete a wrap document, we've got the core document there now. Now we have to attach to it information that explains each of the benefit plans that they have. That might be insurance certificates. Maybe you've got some insurance booklet that you include, but it's something that covers these kinds of requirements that ERISA says has to be included with it. Because our core document, it'll refer to the component plan information for specific coverage details. We don't, that would be a nightmare if you had to pull that kind of information into a document. So the document just references to it, and then you provide that information out to participants.
So Ken, this document, the wrap portion of it, basically, this is the bulk of the plan, the wrap document itself. All the certificates, whether it be medical and multiple medical policies, or dental or vision, they all are going to. This is going to point to them and say that's your benefits.
Yeah, so this will steer and direct and tie. So it wraps. What a wrap document, in essence, that is doing is it's creating one overall plan document, one overall SPD that wraps around all of their benefit plans: medical, dental, life, disability, etc. And then it pulls in the missing insurance company information. So now when it arrives here, we just have to attach the insurance information to complete it.
And with that, it doesn't make any difference whether it is employer-sponsored or voluntary. Even a voluntary product is generally going to be employer-sponsored. The only thing that I didn't see up there that I think I ran across with Canyon was when they do something like Aflac. How does that work through this? Is that still wrap part? Will this wrap those particular benefits in there too?
Yeah. Now, it depends. One of those depends answers, because if it's truly voluntary, and if the employer's not paying for it, anything that's not ran through on a pre-tax basis, I don't have to include in here. But if I run it through on a pre-tax basis, then that makes it ERISA covered. Or if the employer is sponsoring, is somehow sponsoring and reinforcing the program, communicating the program, then that could make it to where it's covered. So in most instances, like you could do a cancer policy, accident policy, all of those, you want to run them through the pre-tax, right?
Right.
It's going to benefit them, so then they would be included. But I wouldn't for a disability policy or for a life insurance that's voluntary. If it was only voluntary, I wouldn't include those in. So going on down here, go ahead, other questions?
No, I was just going to ask about the things that we're attaching. I know that contracts or certificates of coverage was one of the things you mentioned, but there's also like summary of benefits and coverage or plan summaries. I know the certificate is probably what encompasses the most information. So I guess we would just need to include the certificates for each policy that are offered.
If you've got that, and that's why in one of the notes I sent back to you just recently, I mentioned that if we think about this in terms of let's create a system, to where we've pre-made decisions, we've pre-got information to make this go really smooth. So like if someone just, you know which insurance providers you work with and you know who your companies are, set up something where you reach out to each of those providers and say, I need insurance certificates for all of these companies, and collect them all back. You can make this process go a lot smoother if you get systematic about it. Any other questions about this so far? Down here we talk about how to distribute. So this gives them instructions on distribution. They can either be done electronically or non-electronic, like mailing it to someone or emailing it to someone would be electronic. And then they can click here to get more details about the options and requirements. Now, within the next week or two, we've added in a new service that will allow electronic delivery for your clients. Unfortunately, it's a tool that again is driven by the insurance broker if you want to utilize that tool. So I don't know, that might be a choice for you to say we don't want to mess with it. Just have them deliver it via email. Have it do it on their own intranet site. But we're providing a tool. It's through it's another provider that specializes in electronic delivery, and we're just making that available. We pay them a fee for it to make it available at no cost to for your groups if you want to use that tool. So you'll get more information on that later, probably within the next couple of weeks. And again, then you can decide if that's something you want to worry about or not. But again, there's no cost to you. But this, other than that, it's pretty much, they need to keep documentation. So we guide them in here on everything they need to do with the document, what to add to it, how to send it out, how to save the documentation, and then call us with any questions. So that was a quick and dirty overview of yes.
Let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with Compliance Dashboard?
I am somewhat familiar. I looked at them several years ago. I don't know what they've changed now, but my understanding is that they have a system where basically goes in and tracks what's due and what's been complete and reminds them of what sort of
right.
You probably
it sends notices to them throughout the year telling them you need to take this document and it has the document in it. You need to provide this at this time and one thing or another.
Well, we've heard, and for some clients that might be a good thing. You know, I mean, for your really big ones who have a designated professional HR or a benefits person, they may like that tool. What we heard from a lot of folks who were coming off of there kind of going, we hate getting all these emails all the time. I can't get the employer to send it out once, let alone, you know, multiple throughout the year. So our tool, you know, under this notice, it takes care of all of their notices, one and you're done. In fact, it will remind them, if I go into the system here again for their notices, when they generate this, and they put in a date here for their medical renewal, our system will remind them 30 days ahead of time that it's time to go in and run their annual notices again. And then the system takes care of all of their notices. The SPD wrap only has to go out once every 5 years, unless, and then if there's changes, then they communicate with a summary or material modification, which our tool creates that as well. You know, so we provide a tool to generate a summary or material modification if there's a change in a benefit plan. And I'm sorry, I'm jumping around on you here. Would you like me to show you how this tool works, the summary of material modification?
Sure.
So if I have ERISA says that I have to provide a summary of material modification anytime there's a change in a benefit plan, and you know, that's considered material. So usually that means the benefits either went up or the benefits went down. So if my benefits went up or down, let's say I had a change in my medical plan. I could come down here, I indicate medical, and I can either attach something that explains the change or I can actually explain it. And then I put in the date that it's complete. So let's just say that it's 01/2015, and then I indicate which kind of a change was it. So in this case, I'll just say it was provisions that established new benefits or services. Now I'm complete with my summary material modification. I could add another one if I say yes, there's another modification I want to add, or I could take it off if I don't. When I'm ready to generate this one doesn't email it. So if I click generate SMM notice, it's creating the notice for me right now, and now it allows me to download it. So you see how it popped up here, and I just say open that up, and now it opens up this in a Word format that's ready for me to send out to participants to communicate the change. So now I've got a professional summary of notice, medical insurance. Now what kind of a notice is it, the date, and then it actually connects back to the plan document itself.
Well, this one, Ken, this is where if you had your benefit summary with the changes on it, you would attach to here?
Yes. Yeah, so you could, yeah, then I have something here, you know, like here I said I'll attach something to explain it. So you take this core document that we just ran here, and now I just attach to that something that explains the change. And then that gives them a professional summary of material modification. Inside the system, it saves all of my past summary material modifications that I've ran in here.
Well, quick question, Ken. On the changes, do you have to expand on what the changes were, or can you just provide the new benefits? Like if they deductible went from 1,000 to 2,000 or something.
Yeah, so that's what you just have to communicate what changed, and
okay.
And usually you'll get something from the insurance providers usually that'll say, you know, this and this changed, and here's what's going on. So you could take that and just attach it to that document that we just generated there, and then you're ready to go.
Okay.
And Bob, I'm not sure I've answered your question. Just to come back to, you know, about the compliance dashboard, I'm not knocking the system. I think for some people they may like that kind of a thing. I'm just suggesting for a lot of folks they don't need it, because this will take care of all of their notices. This will take care of their wrap document. This will take care of their POP document, and it gives them everything that they need, you know, throughout the year. And then we tell them what they need to know and do with the legal update and due date reminders that they receive. So every month they receive a legal update from us with your logo on, as well as one best practice HR bulletin with your logo on as well. They have another tool in here, which is a HIPAA toolkit, too, just to show you what this looks like. I could go in here if I'm a client and say, well, what parts of HIPAA apply to me? So I can read through here, see what applies, see the steps that I need to take to create a program, and then come into our kit. We have every kind of form, document, policy, template that they need. A hospital could create a HIPAA program with what we have in here. So it's that. Most of your clients aren't going to need everything that's in here. They'll need, like, perhaps a business associate agreements and maybe a HIPAA policy. But there is, we do provide that as part of the service as well. What questions do you have for me? That was kind of a quick overview of the overall services. I think the critical underlying thing too is how do we get more people signed up? And that's where, if you would like, I think, so we've sent them emails that give them a username and password and instructions saying that you've set them up on the service and here's the next steps to take. Anita, have we sent their group, or were we waiting for approval? Have we sent any follow-up emails or made any phone calls out to their clients?
We're waiting on approval.
Okay, because if you would like us to, we'll do that as well. It, of course, always has more meaning when something comes from you. So if we'd even suggest some notes, that we could provide you with some follow-up, an email you send, or we'd even be fine calling them and and helping them get in and start completing some of the documents. So we could guide them into how to get in here, how to start filling it out. We just don't know the content. So that's where they're probably still going to come back to you and say, well, have I filled this out right?
Now that I've gone through this, Ken, the whole yes and no and all that through building the SPD, I personally, and this may be like a company thing that we need to decide, and I know that we had originally decided that we needed to get away from this and not do this for them. This is something that I could do for some of my clients in 5 minutes, probably, which I understand that we were worried about taking on responsibility for doing this, but we do have more of the information, I think, at our fingertips to be able to do it. The only thing that I am worried about doing is, number one, sometimes these groups have things that we don't know about. For example, 401ks, multiple companies, AFLAC, sometimes they have AFLAC in, and we don't know that they have AFLAC. We're not their agent. They got that separately years ago, and we have no idea about it. So I'm a little bit worried that if we went in and did some of it for them, that we wouldn't be encompassing all of their benefits because we're not aware. The only other thing that I don't like is down at the bottom where it says SPD prepared by. Even if I do it, I don't want to put my name there. So, yeah, right
well,
there.
That's for us only.
That'd be great.
That's for us only. I mean, that's not anything that's created inside that document. It's just so that we need to call someone to say, hey, who do we call about, so if you have notes in here, or if Anita's on the, looks in the information, then she knows who to call. That's all that.
Stamp your name like SPD written by, and I was like, no, I don't want that.
Oh, no, it doesn't. It's not merged in the document at all.
Okay.
I think the employer needs to take some responsibility. It is their responsibility.
Right.
And they really need to, they don't have to understand it in detail, but they do need to know. They're the ones that have to put on there when their company was started, their name, their address, who's in charge, legal services, on and on and on. That encompasses what their company does. And there's things like we don't know necessarily that there is 2 companies out there instead of just one.
Right.
So I think we really want them to be involved in helping them, as far as when it gets to the benefits or doing some of this stuff. I know I worked with Anita with Canyon, and Canyon was pretty good about starting it, and it took them a while, but after going through it, I mean, I think it worked fine. The only stumbling block I think they had was on the AFLAC stuff, which was their that they do it in one company, not all of them. I don't even know if they do it anymore. They may not anymore.
By the way, just to address part of the comments that were just made a moment ago, this plan does not include or cover retirement or 401k. Generally, that's taken care of separately. They do that with their own summary plan description. Retirement plans are great at that. They've been doing this for years and years. And then regarding supplemental, maybe you just make it part of your question just to say, do you have any other benefits besides what we've indicated here? Do you have AFLAC or do you have any voluntary programs we haven't covered? If you make that, again, part of your system that says, I make sure I ask them that question, then you would never have that problem where you're missing someone. And by the way, you cover that here under supplemental. So if I had some AFLAC or Colonial or whatever, I click supplemental, and then I can go down here, and then there'll be a section now for supplemental, and then I can go in and I can add each of the programs. There's always, is there an additional supplemental plan? So if I say yes, then I can add in the one for the cancer policy or whatever I want to include.
Ken, let me ask you something, especially like Colonial, AFLAC, and the other ones. They come in and they may sell to your employees 10 different benefits. Not 10 to each one of them, but they'll sell this one, these 4 to one, and these 5 to another, and these 3 to one, and this and that. And I don't even know that the employer knows what the hell they have.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, what I would probably do here, Bob, is just put AFLAC various programs offered, and then attach something that AFLAC provides you that says here's a brochure that explains all the plans. So you can make it more simplified, in how you address it. Because that would be difficult, in a case like you just described. I mean, maybe they got 9 different things and they don't even know, who's on what, because the AFLAC agent met with everybody individually, and who knows what they've set them up on. So you might just come in here and say, AFLAC various voluntary plans offered on a pre-tax basis or something like that. You could type that right here, and then you just put the general AFLAC information. If you have something where it's asking for a policy number and you don't have something like that, you just put not applicable.
I guess, okay. Now, Ken, to this SPD, we have to attach a copy of all the various certificates, right? The medical, the dental, the life, the vision.
Something that explains the coverage, whether it's a certificate or maybe you have a brochure that you receive that's sufficient. An SBC would work if you don't have the certificates either. It's just the certificates of coverage is more comprehensive even than the SBC, so that's always preferred if you've got it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the difference is about 280 pages. If you use
That's
an SBC versus a certificate of coverage, the difference is about 280 pages per policy. So that's why I guess and I understand that certificate is going to encompass everything. That's going to be the most extensive or the most thorough. But I mean, we can get a 2 to 4 page plan summary that has the basics. We have, the SBCs that are 8 to 10 pages. But a certificate of coverage is 200-300 pages long. So
yeah.
So it's okay just to put the benefit summary in there as opposed to the certificate? Yes.
Well, so when possible, if I go back to the email that I referenced here a moment ago,
both the plan summaries and the SBCs direct you to your certificate of coverage as well. So, I mean,
that's what concerns me, because it references their benefits, and SBC doesn't list all the benefits.
No, both the SBC and the plan summary state at the bottom that, this is just an overview or, a brief rundown of your benefits. Please consult your complete certificate of coverage for a full view of your benefits or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
We actually don't list here that the SBC would be the thing that you would put in place of. I mean, so it does say, here's what's required. So here's the definition from ERISA. So it wants this kind of information, and that's typically found in one of these documents.
Yeah.
But I just say, if you can't, I've run into some cases where the insurance company doesn't create certificates, and and so they just provided the best that they had. They gave a brochure that the company had, and they included the SPC. And,
well, the carriers, a lot of them now don't hand out or send out the actual certificates, but you can go online and print them. I'm just concerned that, and you're going to need to guide us here, that just giving, let's talk about long-term disability income. Some of those certificates are 40, 50 pages long. Do they have all those examples in them and this and that and one thing or another? But the summary in the LTD policy, maybe just 2 or 3 pages. Are you saying that if we have a summary like for long-term disability income, if there is a caption somewhere on that for further information, get a copy of the actual certificate, that'll fill the feds. They come to audit us. That will fill their requirement.
Well, let me answer that 2 ways. First, if an auditor is coming in and you even have a summary plan description, they're 90% happy, because most of them don't even have them. And so a lot of them, we're finding that, that they're working with people if they're missing a few little minor things, and they're not assigning fines if they're at least demonstrating that they're putting forth an effort to comply. But those who don't have anything, then those are getting a fine. To the extent possible, this is the definition of what's required. It is asking for detailed description of plan provisions, coverage, limitations, and exclusions. So it kind of depends on what you have there. One of the ERISA attorneys that helped us in creating our system, he gave an example. He says, Ken, he says, we have a very detailed brochure that comes from the insurance company that covers all of these things here. So he says a brochure is all that's needed in that case. In some instances, if they don't have that and you've got the insurance certificate, that does provide more of that detailed required information. So if you've got it, and this leads to also why I think you want to work towards a plan guiding employers towards electronic delivery, because the electronic delivery we're not going to be quite as worried about the number of documents. If I've got to print them all out and mail them to somebody or hand them to people, now all of a sudden I've got trees and a lot of extra hassle. If I've got electronic delivery, all I've got to do is download and save it into a place where I can refer people to go to see the information. And that's what we're going to be providing for you within the next week or 2. We're going to actually provide you electronic delivery. And that's just that'll just be part of your service now as well. So there's no extra cost to you for that. That'll be coming out, like I said, in the next couple of weeks.
My thought was that if we did use the plan summaries or the SVCs instead of the full certificate, that we would the employer would probably also have to have those certificates of coverage delivered electronically or in a place that all employees would have access to them too. Because if you tell them to refer to this, then they have to have access or know where to refer that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, I'll be interested in how the electronic system works, because with all the rules they have about being able to say yes or no or come back, and if you do, or how much of your time spent on the computer or not, and get permission to send it to their home address, it's always been so much of a hassle for an employer to say, I got to get everybody's permission to send it, and if they change their mind, then I have to send it physically, and if they don't use their computer at the office enough, I can't send it to them there. Is this going to take into consideration all that sort of stuff, Ken?
Yeah, you bring up a real challenge with electronic delivery is that if I'm going to send it via email, it has to be a regular work email, or I've got to obtain written permission. So if it's email, I could also send it manual in the sense that I could send them a card or something that says, I've got this electronic, here's the system. Here's your username, your password. Here's how you log into the system. Let us know if you need us to provide you access to a computer, or if you want a hard copy, one can be made upon request.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
so-
That'll work.
Yes. Yeah, but you have to notify him. You have to notify him separately. With this tool here, the electronic delivery, it's designed where it'll email out to folks, and then they come in, and then then they'll validate, yes, I've received this, and I acknowledge that I had the right to review this information that's contained in here. And then it's a place for you to upload the documents very easily to upload the documents. It'll have your logo and stuff on there, so clients can see, it's customized to you. And
that would really help. Ken, there's a lot of people in Corpus Christi that are more computer illiterate than even I. But if we have a delivery system where we say basically that there's a summary plan description of all your benefits and so on and so on. Here's how you get it and log on and review it. However, if you can't get it or you want a printed copy, please advise us. All right, is it your feeling that we have met the requirement of providing them notice?
Yeah, they have to be individually notified. So I could have a company intranet site, or I could have a electronic delivery system like we're going to be providing for you, but I still have to individually notify people of what to use, how to use it, and how to get there. And as long as I've done that, I've met my requirement.
So if you give that to Juan Bricklayer, and he's got the notice and all the information, where to log on, how to get it, this and that, his password, and one thing or another. If he just chooses not to get it, we're off the hook.
Yeah, it's kind of like COBRA. We mail our qualifying event letters to the last known address. If they choose not to go in and exercise their right to join COBRA, I've still offered it to you, right? And so, so that approach. Now, our tool does give an option to collect back verification that they did go in. So it depends on how the employer wants to approach it. They may say, I need everybody to go in and check this box and go in and verify this within the next 2 weeks. And we're emailing you out instructions, and it's being sent to you. You need to get this done. So that might be a better approach, just so we know we've got verification that everybody's done it.
But even if somebody doesn't ask for it right then, says, oh yeah, electronic's fine, but then comes back 90 days down the line and says, oh, I want a copy of that SPD, the employer still has to produce it at that time, correct? I mean, you have the right to ask for it at any time in the year.
But if you have it someplace online, they can print it for house.
Right.
You don't have to go down.
Yeah, and I'll have to find out if this tool, it may actually allow them to print it right from the tool, themselves. So if someone says, I want a copy, they might could say, here's your username and password, go in and print it.
Okay, then let me take this a little further, Ken. Can we load those SBCs and those summaries and so on in with the SPD? So when they go on and they print it, it's got the whole package?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah,
they'll likely be in there separately. So you'll see one will be the SPD wrap document, one will be the medical insurance certificates, one will be the life certificates, one will be the LTD certificate. So they'll likely be in separately so that they would go in and print. Now, if someone wanted to try and combine them all into one document and then save and upload them in that way, I'm sure you could do that in this tool, because this tool will let you save and provide any documents you want to. You could put in employee handbook in there if you wanted to.
It's not going to be more time consuming than having 4 or 5 different attachments.
But when you have 4 or 5 different attachments,
sometimes you have a limit of how much you can upload.
Right. When you have one big attachment, it becomes 500 megabytes or whatever, and it makes it hard for you to send that to some people. like our carriers right now won't take more than 10. You have to send them attachments in different emails. So the bigger the file, the harder it is to distribute, because some people won't be able to.
I think the way this tool will work if you're using it is it wouldn't actually have the document right inside of it. It would email them a link to click that would take it to where it would then appear to where they could then see the documents and then verify that they've received it. So I think, but there is the option where you could send the documents out, as well. But then you're subject to everyone's spam filters and size limits, and like you just said there, that becomes difficult to email it that way. That's why the storage electronic system, I think, is going to be a better approach in most cases.
Yeah. Well, after we get through with Ken, I'd like to visit with you all a little more on this, because we need to be able to tell our clients what they're going to have to do and how they're going to incorporate all these other documents, so that maybe they have to print them out of 4 different attachments or whatever, so that they know how. And then I think what we need to do is we need to have instructions for our clients to say, okay, you take this and you have to and make these attachments or whatever. Could you all help with that?
Like a procedure for the client. They know.
Pardon?
Like a procedure for the client.
That's right.
Okay.
Unless Ken, do you already have one?
Yeah, so we have some things that, in fact, you've got me, my wheels are spinning here while you're talking, because, again, my goal is I want to make this easy for you. We want you to be the heroes, and we want compliance to be as easy as possible. So let's, if you have some ideas of the things that you're thinking about, if you want to kick that over to me, I'm going to work with my team and see if we can get some lists and things to make sure it's easy. By the way, one of the things we did just this past weekend is we created little short videos that the client can click on that says, here's how you fill out a wrap document. Here's how you do your all-in-one notice. Here's what's all included in your Compliance Basics Plus service. Here's how you do a POP document. So whether that's for your team or whether that's for your clients, we've got those little short, training videos.
Watch a video.
Ken, is there a way that I'm sure that we probably cannot log into this SPD Wrap Center screen while the employer is doing it, because and I may be way off, but this is what my clients are going to do. Leslie is going to pick up the phone and call me, and Leslie's going to say, Sarah, I'm going to log in, and I want you to log in, and I want us to both be looking at the same screen, so you tell me, right there where it says, under employer, it says legal name, I type this here. I click yes on this. I click no on that. And I realize I probably can't see her screen in real time, obviously, because she's typing on it, but do we have like a test company maybe set up that we could use to look at? Or I guess I could just click on anybody.
On anybody else.
Yeah.
You do have the ability, and it does work to where you can both be in looking at the same time. You won't see live changes like if they're making changes or you're making changes. So what you'd want to be careful with is you'd want to pre-understand who's making the changes and who's going to save. So you could both look at it, but you wouldn't try to both save information at the same time, or you're copying over each other.
Okay.
Well, wait a second. I don't have the problem that we both can't type, but you're saying that if Sarah, you're talking about TPCO, your sweetheart. By the way, I had breakfast with JJ this morning.
Oh, that's nice.
If Leslie and Sarah are on at the same time, and Leslie's filling it out, she's not trying to load anything herself. She can't see what she's loading in. Is that correct?
Not until she gets to the bottom and saves it. Then I can see all the saves that she made.
Refresh.
Right.
Yeah,
what
you
he
probably
was
would have
saying
to
is folks don't want to be typing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you'd have to refresh your screen to see what she changed, but you could see where she's at, so you could both go in at the same time and say, hey, you're going to need to do this, and then go into here, and then once she's saved and then you refresh your screen, then you'll see it.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes me feel better. As long as I can look at the same screen that they're looking at, even if I can't see what she's physically typing, just to tell her, okay, do you see that box next to this word? Click there.
And does someone there, and maybe Melanie has this, do you know your username and password to log into your back-end access?
my username and password? No, sir.
Well, so your company has one. Anita, we'll look that up and I'll send it over. I mean, I'm in right now, but I had it saved in my system. But your username's Carlisle. I just have to look up what your actual password is.
Ken, could you send me what everybody's passwords are?
Well, we only have one.
So, yeah, everyone has the same one. So you'll use the same username and password, and then you all work. Yes, we see all of your clients right here inside the system here. So.
Can more than one of us be online at the same time working on different clients?
No, I don't. I haven't tried that. I don't think so. I think you're going to have to be. I'll test that and let you know for sure. I'm sorry. Anita, have you ever tried being in more than one at a, with two of you in the same system at a time? I've not personally tried that yet. So.
I haven't, but I have their password if you'd like it.
Oh, please.
It is CAR2775, lowercase.
I was going to guess that because that's the last four of our phone number here, and the one right here under like our SPD for Carlisle Insurance Agency, that's our Alice number, 4348. So I thought it was going to be.
Yep, you're exactly right.
Now, if you want to change that, you can, but that's what's set up there right now.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, everybody knows that it's
now. If we had two or three if everybody had their own password, more than one person then could be working in your system at one time.
I think it's a file.
I think we would need different username. Because see, what this does is it shows our whole client list, everybody's clients, mine, Bill's, Carol's, Phyllis's, everybody.
You're accessing one file.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you want to do what Bob's talking about, we could set it up. We'd have to separate out your clients. So if you right now they're all in one. So if you wanted
let me rephrase this. Let me rephrase this, Ken. Let's say I went in there and I filled up Canyon. While I'm in there working on Canyon, can somebody else get in there and look at Carlisle?
Yes. And the reason I say that, Ken's in there right now and I'm in as well.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so
that'll work fine. Then we don't need different
That's
users.
all.
Okay, and it may actually even allow us to save and work in separately multiple documents. And I apologize, we just haven't ran that test. I haven't tried that out. We'll check on that. Anita and I will experiment with it after our call.
Yeah, because I have a feeling now that we've found out how to do everything step by step. Now we're all going to want to go jump in there and log in at the same time and get them all done.
No, we're not.
Okay, well, Bill's not, but I'm going to try. So.
I think that we would all do well. Maybe do it in this same room again. Is go in there and look at that module that he has created for how to build an SPD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to send you some of these links that we've just created over the weekend. And then you can go through and look at that again, and especially those who haven't done this before. We went through it kind of quick today, and once you've filled one of these out, you're going to have it down. I mean, your first time, it's straightforward. It's simple. If you have questions when you're going through, call Anita or call any of our support team members. I'm here too. It's just I'm harder to reach. So.
Ken, can you do me one favor? And you may have already sent this out, or I could maybe find one and send it to myself. But that email that you received when you generated the SPD, and it tells you what you need to do next, what you need to attach, and how that electronic delivery is available.
Yes.
Can you forward that to us just so we know what it will look like, what the clients will be receiving, and what their next steps are after they complete stuff.
Tell me your email, and I'll send it to you right now.
I am Sarah, Sarah, P as in Paul. That's me, the third one down.
Okay,
yep.
Perfect. Do you want, now this is a made-up document that's here. I mean, I can leave that.
That's completely fine. Yeah, you can even take that off if you want, or, I mean, I can just use it as an example.
Okay, realizing it's just made-up fictitious information, so, okay, so
yeah,
I'm going to.
That'll work.
So that's been sent to you right now. So you've got that with those instructions there.
Thank you.
And let's get some thought about steps and making this simple. What do we need the client to do? We'll be thinking about that too. I mean, this is set up to somewhat tell what's needed, but we'll see if we can make it a little more simplified.
Okay.
Great. Okay, and Ken, I think you said you're going to also look into and let us know how best to attach or whatever all these documents in with their SPD. Is that correct?
Well, so I mentioned we're providing you with a tool to do electronic delivery, and that we just literally signed the agreement yesterday, and so we're learning about how to do it this week, and then we'll be rolling you out some information likely next week on how that all works. So as soon as we get something together on that, you'll be our first group we send it to.
Okay, so back and you maybe just answered my question. If an employer gets set up for electronic transmission, okay, the employer, it seems like, could go on and print the SPD and the documents that are attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean?
Yes.
So
I believe that'll be the case, but I haven't set some up in this new tool yet, so that's a good question for us we'll investigate that, when we're learning about how.
Even if the employer has to print all these out or puts it on a thumb drive or something, takes it over to Quick Copy and gets them to make 100 sets of them. If we have the ability where everything's in one place, and we see, yes, they have a document attached for this, and they have a document attached for that, and yes, they have this, and yes, they have that, and the whole thing's there. Am I missing something, Bill?
It's just a series of files. Not just those, it's the rates also and all that stuff. It's not just a certificate, but it would be the certificates at each of the rates unless you try to put them inside there. If you do that, you have to change that. So you keep them outside. So.
Well, I think the SPD requires, it says what percentage the employer pays.
You can skip that and add the rates and employer contribution as an attachment because that usually changes every year. Well, rates change every year.
And not all.
Okay, so is that a material modification that we have to send out that every year?
I mean, if you put rates and employer contribution in the SPD and they change, then you would have to include that in your modification. Yeah.
But all the documents, including the SPDs, or so to speak, a single document, okay, because it's a wrap.
Sure. Okay.
If you change a attachment, haven't you made a material modification?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ken, why don't you, if you could do a little homework on that?
Yeah. Now, what part of it did you want me to clarify for you?
I think now that you have the ability to provide electronic compliance, to be in compliance, it would have to have the SPD and the various description of benefits or all the things that are in the SPD.
Yes.
I think I was asking you to let me know how we make those other documents part of this electronic transmission.
Well, and I know that they're going to have us. I mean, it'll be, if you just picture a simple spreadsheet here, for example, you'll have a different field for each of the documents, and you'll go in and upload them into each of these fields, and then there's instructions to the employee, and then there's a box down here where they check, indicating that they've received access to this information. We're doing the training. Yeah, but there's a link that comes in to see this, Once I'll get some training on that, you know, and I'm kind of talking before I've been trained myself. We saw enough of it that we knew we liked it, and we bought the service, and now we just want to provide it for you, you know. So we'll get that all together this week and be ready to roll some things out for you next week.
I'm going to ask a question. For example, if you have the SPD and you have 6 attachments, and a concern was if the document's too large, you can't transmit it. And this is a computer question. If somebody opens an attachment, was it already there, or it is grabbed out into cyber world and pulled down?
It's like putting it on it's like we're going to do the DVDs, right? And we weren't going to send the DVDs out. We were going to post the DVD to our website and say, hey, go look at the DVD. And you go there and you click on it. It's similar to that. Is that right, Ken?
Yeah, this is, with this new tool, it's going to have it's like a system that's stored in the cloud into a database system, and it's going to email out with a link that'll direct people pulling them back into the database system. So the document won't actually be attached in the email. They'll be coming back into the system to see it and validate it.
Okay.
Download it if they want.
I appreciate your clarification. Okay. Sarah, how you feel?
I feel great. I mean, I know y'all don't really want me to do it, but I think I can do it a lot faster than they will do it. And I understand that it's their responsibility and they're supposed to do it, but they're going to be mad at us, you know, which is fine. I mean, they can get mad at us.
Well, I'm not worried about mass. I just worry about HISTA passage. Well, we got $100,000 worth of legal fees because some employees sued us.
But HISTA had an SPD. They didn't give it to the damn person that asked for it. And that's the problem. That is the problem.
That's right.
The problem was not that they didn't have one. All of our people's problem is they don't even have one.
Okay. All right, and Ken, I'm asking a question you've already answered, I think.